Bagel Buggy in Georgia had a problem. Einstein Bros. Bagels had better locations, bigger marketing budgets, national brand recognition. They could out advertise, out promote, and outspend Bagel Buggy on every traditional metric. So Bagel Buggy stopped trying to beat Einstein. They did something smarter. They out-localed them. 2 years later, they went from 125,000 to 1.2 million in revenue. And that same playbook is exactly what private practice dentists need right now. Welcome to the Word of Mouth podcast. I'm Jeff from Opkey. And if you got our newsletter this week, you saw Ryan break down what we're calling the bagel strategy. And I want to dig into this a little bit today because it's not just a cute analogy, it's a fundamental shift in how you need to think about competing in 2026. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. The marketing tactics that have been industry standard for dentists for the last 15 years were never intended to be a long-term play. So let's start with some numbers because honestly, they're pretty unbelievable. In 2013, US News and World Report ranked dentistry as the #1 profession in America. It stayed in the top 5 for the next 9 years, but then in 2022, it plummeted to 70. And this year, in 2026, it's still at number 68. That's a massive drop, basically overnight, and the problem isn't getting better. And when you look at the reasons, it's clear why that rating dropped. Average dentist income is down $36,000 since 2022. That's a 16% or so drop since that year. Over the same period, dentists work an average of 156 hours more per year, which is a nearly 10% increase. 68% of practices are reporting lower margins despite the same or higher revenue, and over half of all practices reported not having enough work or they were treating as many patients as possible and felt completely overworked. So, what happened? Well, two forces converged at the same time. First, DSOs perfected the scale game. They figured out how to absorb insurance write offs through volume and operational efficiency that private practices simply cannot match. During COVID, these corporate chains perfected their marketing systems, and when things opened back up in 2022, they seized the opportunity. The other factor is insurance reimbursement rates have flatlined or worse. They've declined while overhead has climbed 30% or more over that period. Delta Dental is paying 12% less than they paid in 2015 for the exact same procedures. And that's not inflation adjusted, that's actual dollars. Less money for the same work. The bottom line is that insurance reimbursements aren't keeping pace with inflation, and that is only hurting you as a dentist. So, how did private practices respond? Well, they did what they've always done. Only now they are competing on the DSO's battlefield. More Google ads got more expensive and yield less. More insurance networks, but with the compounding effect of reimbursements staying flat that we talked about earlier. Private practices are trying to out DSO the DSOs while accepting deeper PPO write offs just to keep patient flow steady. It hasn't worked and it won't work. It simply can't work. But here's the thing, there's one thing that DSOs fundamentally cannot win, and that's the local game. That's what Bagel Buggy figured out. Einstein Bros had every advantage on paper scale, budget, brand, but Bagel Buggy had something that Einstein's simply couldn't replicate. They were actually from the place they were serving. So instead of trying to out Einstein's, they became the bagel place their specific neighborhoods simply couldn't imagine being without. Deep community integration, personal relationship with regulars, systematic neighborhood presence, not a bagel shop near me, it's the bagel shop, and it worked. Like I mentioned before, they went from $125,000 to $1.2 million in revenue in just 2 years. And you have the exact same opportunity. DSOs can outspend you on ads. They can absorb insurance write offs through volume, but they cannot replicate deep neighborhood integration. They cannot replicate multi decade family relationships. They can't replicate trusted advisor positioning in your specific 5 mile radius. That's your battlefield. So let's talk about how to win on it. Strategy number 1, own your 5 mile moat. Most practices spend $5,000 to $7,000 a month on Google ads competing with DSOs who have 10 times the budget. And here's the kicker, 80% of your patients live within a 5 mile radius of your practice anyways. And if that's not enough incentive, there's about $2 million spent each month on premium dental work within a 10-minute drive of any average private practice. That's $100,000 per day in premium dental work that's available. So, why are you fighting for generic visibility citywide? Instead of competing with dentists near me against corporate dentist chains with unlimited budgets, own your 5 mile radius. Sponsor local organizations where your target patients already gather. Use sports leagues, school events, community festivals, charity runs. Partner with neighborhood businesses for cross promotion. Show up at neighborhood specific chamber events. It's not just the visibility of your sponsorship in front of local families that you get. You also get something Google values way more than ad spend, a backlink from that organization's website. Most of the time you just need to ask for it, and that single backlink can do more for your local search ranking than a month of PPC. Strategy number 2 is to engineer referrals. Don't just hope for them. We talked about this a little on the last episode, but 50 to 60% of patients already come from referrals. It's your highest quality acquisition channel by far. Referred patients have 37% higher retention. They're practice loyal, not plan loyal, and they cost you essentially nothing to acquire, but most practices have zero systematic referral generation. They're just hoping that their patients refer their friends. That's not a strategy. So the first thing is to identify which 20% of patients generate 80% of referrals, the old 80-20 rule. You probably have a sense of who these people are. They're the ones who have sent you 3, 4, or 5 families over the last few years. Then you need to train your front desk to ask at every recare visit, and this language matters. Do you know anyone in insert your specific neighborhood looking for a dentist who actually cares? Not, do you know anyone looking for a dentist? That's generic. The neighborhood call out makes it specific. It triggers actual faces in their minds. Then close the loop. When their friend books, text the referrer and thank them. Layer in a $50 credit incentive if you want, but honestly, the recognition is what matters more than money for most people. Finally, strategy number 3, become the neighborhood dentist, not simply a dentist near me. DSOs rank for dentists near me because they spend $50,000 or more per month on it. You're never going to outspend or outmaneuver them. Dentists have been trying for the past 3 years and it's only getting worse. It's time to stop trying that. But here's what they can't do: they can't be the go to dentist for your specific neighborhood because their corporate structure isn't compatible with where you actually are living and where you're from. They don't have roots, they don't have history. They have systems and corporate structure. They don't build relationships, but you do and you can. And you need to leverage that competitive advantage. Become the dentist your specific neighborhoods can't imagine going away. Start with your Google business profile. Update it to say something like serving, insert your neighborhood, families since insert the year you were founded. Add neighborhood specific pages to your website, not just Atlanta Dentist, but Buckhead Family Dentist or East Cobb Cosmetic Dentist. Then connect with 10 neighborhood influencers, high school PTA presidents, youth sports coaches, local business owners. These are people who might get asked, who's a good dentist? And your goal should be that when someone in your neighborhood asks that question, you want these kinds of people to say your name without even thinking about it. A bonus way to let Google know you're the neighborhood king is asking your patients for a review and then asking them to mention their neighborhood and what service they came in for. Bagel Buggy figured this out in 2 years. They stopped competing on Einstein Bros Battlefield and started competing where they had structural advantages. You have the same choice. The dentists who pivot to outlocal strategies in 2026 are going to be the ones at the end of the year and in 2027 and in 2028 wondering why they didn't do it sooner. The ones who keep trying to outspend DSOs on Google are going to keep watching their margins shrink. And I think, sadly, we'll see a fair number of those practices close their doors in the coming years. Bagel Buggy chose their battlefield. Which battlefield are you going to choose? If you want to see exactly where your outlocal opportunities are in your specific market, your specific 5 mile radius, we can show you. Links in the description to book a call. We'll analyze your area, show you where your highest local leverage opportunities are, and then map out your 3 most profitable next moves. There's no pitch, no obligation, just a customized local playbook for your practice. That's it for this week. I'm Jeff. Thanks for listening. Subscribe below. And we'll see you next week on the Word of Mouth podcast.